Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to episode number 81 of the White Knuckle Podcast, powered by Ozonics. Undetectable, undeniable. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the White Knuckle Podcast. Tonight, I am joined by my co-host. He's back in the chair again, Todd Prignitz, down in Iowa. Todd, how's it going?
Good, man. I'm kind of beat. I've been out banging trees around, trying to put tree stands up and getting everything trimmed out. Is like, dude, well, you got a little bit of taste of it this past week.
I did.
When you were down trimming. But, yeah, I'm kind of a maniac. Like, I try to do a day's worth of work in 4 hours. So my body ends up taking a toll, but you got to get the stuff done now, and it's worth it come fall when you're heading out to those stands, late October, November, and you've got options, man. Options are how you kill big deer.
Trying to keep up with you hanging stands is like a really hard CrossFit workout.
Well, thank you, I think.
Anyway, I'm going to let you introduce our guest this evening, since you guys have known each other longer than I've known him.
I met Buddy Piland from Ozonics. I don't know, Buddy. How long ago, Buddy?
Oh, it's been a long time. I don't know.
6-7 years, I think, at least. Ago. Yeah, it might even be that long. Like that. Well, when did you guys go from the black box?
2010.
Okay, it would have been right around then, because I think we were using the original Ozonics when we all got to know each other. Do you agree with that statement?
Yep, absolutely.
I think right around then. But I've known Buddy. Buddy's from Texas, lives down around where Scott Elrod, one of the owners, and Dennis Fink live, and around Lake Jackson, Texas. And I believe that's correct. But we met Buddy and another one of the Ozonics originals was Russell, and Buddy worked his butt off for a lot of years behind the scenes with Ozonics, and then translating a lot into going to trade shows and things like that. Kind of doing a two-job deal, working full time, doing the side work with Ozonics. So now I believe you're working for them full time now, Buddy. Is that correct?
No, still doing the side hustle, man. It is 2 full-time jobs, but I'm still a railroader all day, elected union officer for the railroad, and I do Ozonics the rest of the time. So.
Oh my gosh, dude, you're crazy. Well, I guess good union job. That's hard to walk away from sometimes.
Yeah. Well, it's the nature of the beast sometimes, right? We're a small company. I know we've been around a while, but we're still a very small company. So most of us wear 2 hats.
Well, Jason and I can definitely relate to that because we're all in the same boat, basically. Some people think all I do is go play around in the woods each day. I just have to do that plus another job plus. So, it's worth it, man. And it's fun to be able to do stuff that you're passionate about. And I know that's a huge factor is you're a huge hunter. Dude, I felt like your hunting buddy for a long time. We've never actually shared camp or anything, but every year we always get to catch up at the ATA show, all the different trade shows that we run into each other. And like our relationship with Ozonics is like a family, I would say, more so than a business relationship.
Yeah, I would agree with that. White Knuckle's been a huge part. Especially you, Todd. I mean, I don't think the word evangelist would be too strong of a word. And
no, it changed. Hey, man, it changed my life.
So, well, like you said, there's certain things you have to do to kill big deer consistently, and one of those is control your scent and manage your odor, and that's what we do.
Well, and I think without further ado, I'm just going to put it out there. There's a lot of people who speculate about Ozonics and ozone and all this crap because there's so many gimmicks out on the market that are sold in regard to scent. And if you don't believe me, next time you're at your local sporting goods store, just look at the aisles that are dedicated to sprays and all that crap. So not saying they're all crap, because I actually use certain ones or whatever for certain applications, but the number one thing Ozonics did, and we're not going to turn this into an infomercial for Ozonics. We're just going to tell you some stories, because Craig Intervold introduced me to this, and it took me 3 years to try it because I was so skeptical. I was just, the last thing I wanted to do as a business owner selling hunting DVDs at the time was hook up with a scent elimination company, because it honestly wrecked our odds to reach people, because people would say, oh, you're one of those guys. You're just trying to make a buck selling some scent elimination product. And the serious guys got it. They knew, dude, most of the scent elimination products on the market didn't work. At least not for me and guys like me that sweat, because I am a sweater. So, but I hung around with a bunch of dudes who, I mean, this is the type of product that like they basically laughed at, and I laughed at it. And so finally, Craig got me to try one in a tree stand with him during a velvet mission in July, and that was my aha moment when I saw several mature deer come straight down, one lift their nose, sniff a little bit, and go right back to feeding. And I've said it 100 times, but it's the truth. I didn't sleep for 2 or 3 days after that because I couldn't wrap my brain around it, and I couldn't imagine what I could do with the power of at least fooling most of the deer. I mean, Buddy, how were you exposed to it?
Well, I mean, I was exposed to it when it was just an idea in Scott's head, many years before. And it took several years there were no portable ozone generators on the market. And that's what Scott brought to life, right? And especially in the hunting realm. And so we had prototypes manufactured and went to the field in 2007, about the same time we started the company, but we understood in theory what ozone does and can do, and the power of ozone. It's been used to purify water for many, many, many years. It's been used to get rid of odors in industrial applications for many, many years. And that's where it was being used when the idea was triggered in Scott's brain. He was using it in a medical suite, a dental suite, to destroy odor from cauterized flesh. Right? Pretty pungent. And so the first time I was exposed to it, there was a group of us, and we took them and we said, okay, let's go to, a buddy of ours had a ranch in Uvalde, Texas, 2,500 acres, low fence, mature animals. And we went out there and said, okay, let's do everything in our power to make this thing sell. Let's set up completely wrong, wind at the animal, let's see what this thing can do. And I remember that first day, because there's a little bitty farmhouse on there, and I remember coming back with my video camera, and I couldn't contain myself. Much like you said, you couldn't sleep for 3 days. Yep. All of my buddies, my best friends in the world, there's about 5 or 6 of us there, and we're sitting down to start relaying these, because we're all bow hunters, right? And we've been exposed to animals and deer behavior, and we all know what deer do when they get downwind of you. And to see the things we saw, the excitement was unbelievable, and the stories. And we filmed a lot of that, and it's so cool to go back, 11 years ago and watch that. And an interesting story, I'm sitting in my office right now at the house, and right above me is about a 115-inch whitetail. I had bow hunted for 5 years. I got started late, 32 years old when I started bow hunting. And I had been hunting hard all over Amistad National, the National Wildlife Refuge at Lake Amistad, one of the hardest places around the hunt for whitetail bow hunt, and all over Texas. Wanted to kill a deer. I'd killed a couple doe, not a buck. And on that, later that October, so that was January, we tested the units. Later in October, we set up, and I took my first buck, which happens to be the first animal that I'm aware of ever taken using ozone as your scent control device.
No.
So, and he's hanging on my wall right here above me.
Oh my gosh, that's freaking cool, man.
I've always wanted to be the answer to a trivia question, buddy. That's pretty cool.
One of these days, right?
Right.
No, it is cool. It is cool. I love to come in here, and as most of you do, I'm sure. There's times where I just step in there and I look at each animal that I have up there, and I can vividly remember every detail of that event, and that. The buck above me, smallest buck in my room, and my favorite, because 5 years, the emotion, much like, again, Todd, I just seen the clip with Walter Payton, and I can relate to the emotion wrapped up in a journey that has so much depth to it, right? So many close encounters, so much effort. And that's why that buck, smallest buck in my world, but he's my favorite.
They really, honestly, they've all been my favorite. Walter Payton was just like just a miracle. I felt like I still do. I still don't know how I pulled it up. But dude, we're lucky to be able to do what we do. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, so much fun. But just today, I was out when I was trimming my stand today, and I pretty much this time of year, that's half of my life is out trimming stands and hanging stands and scouting stands. Jason and I just got 4 of them hung, some killer spots. But what I find myself doing these days is I kind of have a 2/3 rule, where if I can have 2/3 of the deer away from my wind, where they're upwind of me, and plan on about 1/3 of my deer eventually making it downwind or coming straight from downwind. Those are where I hang my stands now. And 8 years ago, to think that you were planning on deer coming downwind of you, you'd call somebody you're full of it, completely full of it.
Right.
And now, like, dude, I can hang tree stands where I know I'm going to get a shot at a giant buck, but I also know I'm probably going to have deer come downwind of me. And so it's allowed me to just basically take my aggression level to a different level, where I can hunt spots I would normally never be able to hunt. But that's where you kill the big ones, because they are, if you are sitting in the woods or on a field edge or on a food plot, and the wind is completely in your favor, and those animals coming into the plot are vulnerable or feel vulnerable in any way, like they don't have any confidence going to that plot, you just won't see those big mature bucks in the daylight. So we have to set up in a way that makes those bucks feel like they have the wind in their favor, at least to the most part, and manipulate just those tough angles. But a lot of times that means you got to sacrifice does coming downwind, a lot of other deer coming downwind, knowing exactly where that big buck's probably going to travel. He's not going to travel where all the other deer. And dude, without Ozonics, straight up, I would not be able to kill the bucks that I kill, including Walter Payton. The spot I was set up in, it's like become my go-to now, is I create a kill plot, and then it's generally my kill plots, my smaller size plots, are right adjacent to doe bedding areas. And during the rut, I have stands positioned in the bedding areas themselves, where I might only have, you saw the tree stand and the shot and everything on Walter, where it's very tight quarters, but that's where you will see those animals during daylight. But in order to be in the thicket right there with a northwest wind, my scent was blowing straight across my kill plot. And I knew that day I would have does. I would have 15, 20 deer out in that plot downwind of me with Ozonics. And knowing that I'm going after that world-class deer and another big buck that was living in the area, man, like, that's the confidence I have in it. I will do it all day long.
Right. Yeah, you simply wouldn't take that chance normally to educate a deer like that if you didn't have that level of confidence. And there's no about it. The beautiful thing is that for various reasons, right, you have a little more opportunity than the average bear, and you've been able to use this as a tool to perfect your ability to consistently get on world-class deer. Right. But here's a really neat thing, too, is that tool translates to people at various stages. Right. Because there's a lot of people that their ability to hunt is compromised by time and opportunity. Right. And to your point, if you only have, in your case, you have kill plots and you set them up very strategically to accomplish this end goal of getting on a world-class deer, because he's always going to, without fail, use the wind to his favor and typically quarter into that wind. And unless he just makes some crazy mistake, which is known to happen, everybody gets lucky once in a while. But to do it consistently, you have to hunt in a compromised situation. Now, for the other guy, here's a guy who he has limited land, he has limited time, and so people say, "Well, I hunt the wind," and I say, "Well, I hunt Saturdays." And if the wind's not cooperating, I've got to do something else. Mm-hmm. And so that I love the way you place it out there, but it's so neat to understand that tool. The people a lot of times who think they need it the least are the people who need it the most because of the ability it gives them to maximize time and opportunity.
To me, I always strike it down to goals. I say it quite a bit. Jason's probably getting sick of hearing this spiel. But my goal is to kill the bucks nobody else can kill, and so I have to hunt them unlike anybody else. And so that means doing some crazy stuff, and a lot of it, I mean, it's all wind-related. I don't go into a set unless I truly believe that a buck would want to go through there because he feels confident and comfortable going through there because he has a spot. He has the scent, and he has control of that. And in that area, those are the circumstances where you'll see those big deer. But the other part, as a landowner and a guy who hunts my own property, only in 63 acres, for me, what Ozonics helped me do is it stretches your season out because when you're going in those spots, you're not getting snorted at like you used to. Like, Trust me, I got snorted at more times than God dang. If there's a scientist who studies deer snorts, I've heard as many over the years. Because I've always been an aggressive hunter, so I would rather take my chances and get busted. But, man, I can't tell you how many blood-boiling mornings or blood-boiling evenings I've had just sitting and listening to a damn doe snort and snort and snort. And you're like, I mean, you got no chance. It's like you might as well just pack up and go home. And when you only have so much time, I was a weekend hunter for a long, long time, for almost 20 years. And, you wait all week and you think about your vacation. You get on those spots that you work so hard to find and create. And, man, a freaking doe pops you and starts snoring. And it's like, at that point, you'd pay anything to solve that problem, and $400 doesn't sound that bad. And trust me, man, we wouldn't be promoting this product unless it works. So if you have that same problem and you want to take advantage of every hunt, and you have to, we all do, even myself who gets to hunt, quite a bit every day pretty much. But you got to take advantage of every one of those hunts, and it's all statistics is the way I look at it. Statistically, you just have to put yourself in those positions more and more and more. And Ozonics just bumps up your odds. You can't put a percentage on it, but I can tell you this much, dude. It saves my properties, allows me to get good hunts in throughout the year. Don't blow all your deer out constantly. And you can, it gives me the confidence to be really aggressive, and that's when I kill the big ones.
At the end of the day, I think you hit the nail on the head, and it's true about so many things, whether it's your daily life or in the deer woods, and it boils down to math. And I'm beginning to love the saying, it's math, it's not magic. And when you begin to stack the deck in your favor, I think certain things are just going to happen. And Ozonics for me has definitely been one of them. But I just want to back up for a second, guys, if you don't mind. And I remember going to Todd's film school for the second time, which I think, I don't remember exactly which year it was. I want to say it was 2009 or 2010. And I remember him standing in front of the whole class saying, "We will never support a scent elimination company." And
did I really?
Yeah, you absolutely did. You said it right there, right there. I bet it's on video somewhere. And only to learn later that fall, that summer, when Craig had come down, and I didn't know who Craig was, and Todd called me and he's like, "You're not going to believe this, we that," and he's like, you got to get one. And I'm like, "Oh, okay. If Todd says we got to get one, then we got to get one." So I ordered one, and David and I were hunting together, and our first experience with it was our first time out. We did a run and gun set in David's property, which is it hunts real small because the timber's only 20 acres, so you've got to be pretty strategic, and then you're going to have to give up more than a third. And that night we gave up more than a third, but we didn't kill anything. We saw a lot of deer, but we only saw a lot of deer because Ozonics, even that black shoebox, as I called it, at that point in time, still did the job. Certainly, the units that we have now are I'm sure way more efficient in many ways in terms of battery and weight and all that stuff.
Jesus, it's like the Titanic compared to a Miami Vice boat.
Yeah, no, that's a fact. And you know what? They work so good, dude. I used to carry 2 of them to the tree. They were 5.5 pounds apiece with that nickel cadmium battery, and I would carry 2 to the tree because they work so good. But
buddy,
again,
we used to carry 3 for me and Kyle.
Yeah, I mean, it was about killing deer, right? And I was like, okay, right, you know what? It works, and I'm gonna load up and do this. So
you can hide the sweat once you finally got in position, so it didn't matter.
Right. Well, the bigger thing for me was not so much the weight of them all the time, but you can't really build a mounting system for a 5.5 pound box. So there was always, and I'm sure you guys played with this, we had bungee. I carried a whole assortment of bungee cords to be able to wrap it in a tree and manipulate that bag with the unit to get it blowing downwind. And so those were fun times. But I tell you what, I really was a happy guy when we introduced the HR200 in 2010. And that's like you said, it was, for lack of a better term, sexy compared to the other one, you know?
Oh my gosh, dude. It basically was like, I don't know, kind of like the introduction of the compound bow for me.
There's no way I would have killed Splitter the first year that I ever killed, I think, as a result of having Ozonic. There's no way I would have killed him without it. We just had too many deer, and I've said this so many times, so people are probably getting sick of it, but we just had too many deer around us, 360, when this 5.5-year-old giant for the area that I live in stepped out. You know, every deer had its head down, every deer was feeding, and there would just be no way that you could have avoided that without the use of Ozonics. So anyway,
well, the one thing I think we've done best for Ozonics over the years is proven it on video of what the effectiveness of this tool is.
Oh yeah, the sippy cup,
the old sippy cup.
Yeah, sippy cup video. That is sippy cup, right?
Yeah, well, actually, at the time I was calling him sippy cup, but it ended up being the rusty nail. And ended up killing that joker 2 years later. Okay. Let me think. Was it the next year? I don't even know anymore. I think it was 2 years after that when he was 8. But he was six years old and was a ghost buck. I'd never seen him on the hoof, so I was pretty excited. We were releasing wind checkers, and you probably have seen the footage if you've seen any of the YouTube videos from Ozonics or anything like that over the years. But it literally, I'm doing the whole audio, and it's not edited; it's as it happened. And I'm like, oh my gosh! Look at it go! And the wind floater literally goes within a foot of his nose on video, and it's it's absolutely perfect. There's no way to duplicate that. And you can tell he smells the ozone because he's not acting carefree, but at the same time, he is almost curious and he's not spooked at all. I mean, he just doesn't have that spooked body language, but he was definitely creeping slow through the woods. And we got so much footage of him, and I was blowing, I had just shot Barry Sanders, like, I don't know, a half an hour earlier or something. So I was already out of my mind. And it ended up being, you know, you'd never have that situation ever where you're going to pass a deer like that and actually get that footage. So it was like just a gift from God, basically, for all of us, really.
Mm-hmm. No, it was wonderful. Wonderful. I love watching that video.
What big hunts have you got coming up this year?
So we have a week in South Central Illinois, where it's a new place we're going to go and chase some whitetails over there. And then I'm going to head back north. So we'll be there the last week of October, and then we'll fly from there to Saskatchewan, and I'll spend some time up in northern Saskatchewan like I've done the last 2 years.
Okay.
I've kind of fell in love with that place.
Dude.
That's what I wanted to ask you about. What's it like hunting up in Canada? You know, we've all seen, whether it's Pat Reeves and Nicole out of the ground blinds, or you on Dean Partridge's show. What's it like hunting up there?
You know, So my first time I went, my experience was very limited because it happened so fast. The first morning I had an awesome shooter buck come in and everything fell into place the first hour. So my experience was very limited. I got a better taste of it last year, and it was very warm the first year I was up there. In fact, it was in the 20s and 30s, and it was muddy. And I remember Dean, much like in the Midwest, if you've got 70, 80 degrees, at the wrong time of year, the deer don't move much. And he was like, "Man, this is just super unusual for us." But you're hunting bush buck, so it's not. You're in a forest, right? Just trees and brush, and there's not a lot of the agriculture and timber where you can pattern deer moving from, bedding areas to feeding areas, because it's got like a lot of places in Texas where the deer stands up, he can eat anything that's around him. So you really, it's kind of cool because you set up spots and on travel routes and you see deer that some of them have never seen human beings, and so it's pretty cool to watch some of the deer. The more mature deer will be very spooky, but the younger deer really don't pay a lot of attention. You have to control odor and scent, but you can get away with a little bit more noise at times with younger deer. Now, my experience this last year, I was hunting the same spot and was covered up in deer, but there was the biggest 6-point I've ever seen in my life, and he was the most aggressive deer. You know how deer, when they get super aggressive at the rut, will try to kill other deer. I mean, literally, it's just bad intent. And I'd never seen one do that to doe. I've seen them do it out of the buck, but I've never seen one get that aggressive with doe. And I watched this guy for 2 days, because you hunt from sun up to sundown. They drop you off, and you climb in there, and it's dark, and they pick you up, it's dark. And so you get to see a lot of really cool things. But I watched that guy for 2 days, and I went back, and I remember telling Dean, "Look, I would love to shoot that deer because he's such a specimen, just a beast, and he thinks he's the biggest deer in the world. But there's no other deer going to come in there because he's so aggressive." So he moved me about 20 miles the other side of camp. So I mean, they have around 200,000 acres, and we're 9 miles to the lodge from the nearest road. So you take UTVs in, and then like my stand spot was nearly 20 miles from the lodge by UTV. And so we went 20 miles the opposite direction on Wednesday, and he had told me it was a huge clear cut. And I remember Dean saying, "Look, you have to hunt these deer on this very differently. They're going to be super spooky because in this open, the wolves get on them really bad. So the deer that move through here are nothing like a deer you've hunted up in the bush on these edges." And he was right. When the deer came in, finally came in about 10:30 that morning, or 10, I watched him and have him on film for 32 minutes of working the edge of that, worked all the way downwind, and then finally worked into to the alfalfa that we had there, and gave me a shot finally. But so many times he would start in and stop and turn, and you think, man, it's over with. And he was just so spooky, but another beautiful, beautiful animal the third day. Now, it was warm, really warm the first year. Last year, it was really cold. So I shot that buck at 10:30 a.m., a little after 10:30, and it was minus 10 degrees still. And so it was cold. I mean, when you wake up in the morning this last year, it would be minus 20, minus 25. So
wow,
it was chilly.
Wow.
And I'm going to give a shameless plug, and I'm not paid, but I'm going to tell you what, heater bodysuits are the real deal.
Oh, you can't do it without something like that.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, literally, it gets so miserable if you don't have something like that.
So they're not kidding. Like I've often heard, on many of the different shows, you know, it's like minus 20 or whatever. I'm thinking, yeah, no, that's got to be in what
wind chill inside of the wind chill inside of the freezer.
Yeah, something. But it's for,
it's really that cold.
Wow.
Yeah. Dude, it's insane. Coonert's told me stories. He used to go way up there, and he became buddies with like an Indian or Indian tribe or something, and they brought him into some of the most northern places any white man had ever bow hunted. And he would sit out in 40 below all day in a tree stand, and I don't even know if he had a heater bodysuit. He's just a different kind of man. But I think he may have. And from, just like you said, an hour before light until an hour after dark, and I can tell you this much. There ain't no way in hell that this boy is going to be up there doing that.
Yeah, no, it's well, I tell you, when it gets brutal, you know, they'll check on you, right? They got little radios, and they'll when it's just like on that edge of being like, this is
dangerous.
We need to make sure that they do it. They check on you like every 30 minutes. You know, so I will say this again, another shameless plug. They do a wonderful job up there, and I'll tell you what, the animals are phenomenal. If you're patient, you're going to kill a good deer up there, 9 times out of 10. And I love going up there. It's just different. I hope to hunt Alberta next year, because the Alberta bow zone area. Since 1972, there's an area all around Alberta that has only been hunted by bow, and it's much like the Midwest. So you're going to have transition spots. You're going to have the animals moving from bedding to feeding to bedding, and so you do a lot rather than hunting out of ground blinds. You do a lot of tree stand hunting, because you're literally setting up on travel routes a lot like you do in the Midwest. So I'm looking forward to doing that.
I know that's where Adam Hayes has hunted quite a bit over the years in some of the books.
Yep, absolutely.
He missed one up there, man. That was just absolutely mega. But it's like basically hunting. It's like hunting in Iowa like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
There's just no pressure. There's no human beings up there. Those deer are it's just isolated wilderness for hectares, not even miles. So it's just a different animal. It creates some opportunities, but it's not for the weak of heart. If you're going to be going up there when it's cold, it does not. It's a different level of cold than what we get here in the Midwest. And anything below zero for me is just pain. You know, it's just not enjoyable.
Well, it's like they say, you know, we're turning clothing into gear or tools, and that's exactly. The most important piece there is make sure you have the right gear.
Yep.
And that goes all the way around, because everything's magnified. Your bow, you know, you've got to make sure, just like checking our rests, right? Because it gets so cold, some of the rests want to stick, you know, and so your drop-aways, you got to check them, you got to pay attention to that. And then, if you're filming, you have some challenges with batteries, and you guys understand that, so.
Oh man, it's never ending.
Yeah,
but it is fun. It's an adventure hunt, and I recommend it. Very, very fun.
Would you say
so?
That?
Now, I go ahead.
No. Finish what you were going to say.
Well, I was going to say that this last year I did get a preference points for Iowa, so I'm working on, because I want a little adventure in Iowa myself. That's someplace I've dreamed of hunting, and I'm working on getting drawn up there.
Well, I can tell you that it's definitely a dream come true, and it's like I had to pinch myself on when did I get to your place, Todd? Sunday, Monday, something like that, and just to get out in the timber there and know that you're going to hunt there, and know the class of deer that's around there. It's definitely a dream come true. This will be my first ever trip out of state to hunt deer.
Oh wow!
I've always been, within 100 miles of my hometown. It wasn't really until last year that I ventured out into, the western part of the state, but yeah, so this is going to be awesome. It's going to be a great year.
Oh yeah. Well,
all kinds of adventures to go on. A new lease, a new 500-acre lease, and a new 400 and some acres, and then down by Todd's, hunting with him. So that'll be a ton of fun. The whole year's just going to be a blast. And it starts.
Absolutely.
It starts a week from Saturday for me here in Wisconsin.
I wish we could. Me and Scott were in a stand all weekend hunting axis deer. We've got a small property west of San Antonio, and it's covered. There's some unbelievable axis, but axis are, for one, it's brutal. So as cold as it is in Canada, we're in, ground blinds brushed in, and it's, 100 degrees outside and 110 inside the ground blind. And we had some interesting sits over this weekend. No axis deer to show for it. We did have a really good white-tailed buck for that area come in at about 15 yards. Beautiful guy, still in velvet, but I'm getting excited about trying to take a mature axis with a bow.
Now, are those are deer that came
Christopher
out of
Columbus brought him over.
Yeah, they're from India originally.
Okay.
Yeah, they're from India, and so I've heard several stories, but there were ranchers that brought them over back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, something. But they've really, really done well in central Texas, and there are an enormous amount of free range axis, and they drop their horns all year long, right? So they breed at different times, rut at different times. They get in different cycles, and they're a fairly large animal. A mature buck, can be up above 250, 275 pounds, and they eat. They're the best. Literally, you talk to anybody, they absolutely nothing touches them. Nothing, even elk. You can put axis at the top.
Well, at the end of the day, man, we don't just kill them to put them on our walls. We're all deeraholics.
That's right.
We eat all of our big bucks, and I'll tell you, I killed years ago a buck we called Big John, and we think he was like 10 or 11 years old, and he was just as tender and delicious as any other deer. So we eat them. My wife eats them, and her family is Angus farmers. That tells you, what. Yep. The lifestyle is like for us. So, well, buddy, I know you guys have been a huge help to us over the years. I feel endowed to you guys because I've killed some magnificent whitetails only because of Ozonics, and that is the truth. That's not a infomercial plug. It's the truth. I've even had bucks come straight into it because they're like, what is that? What is that in that area? But, I'm in the right areas with the deer that I want to kill, and that's half the battle. But Ozonics is a game changer. It's not a gimmick. I'll put my name on it and guarantee it. If anybody buys an Ozonics and there's something that you just don't understand or if you have any questions, feel free to private message me or email me direct at todd@whiteknuckleproductions.com and or todd@treethrasher.com. Got a new email address. And we are going to... Awesome. Yes. Have you seen that yet?
I seen it, but I was Scott had said you had called him and you were going to call me. Man, I'm looking forward to hearing some more about it, right? Because I was curious. Would love to talk about it sometime.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get into it. We've got a bunch of cool promo videos out right now, and it's a cool product and it works. And I know I can tell you this much: if you were up in Canada hunting, where those deer have just never had any exposure to that type of noise before, oh my Lord, It would be like stealing candy from a baby. But it's a cool product. Just like any calls, you've got to use it in moderation and use it wisely, and it works. It just amplifies the number of deer you see. Period. So kind of like Ozonics.
Awesome. Well, I might have to get one and take it with me to Canada.
Oh, you guys will be taken care of. Trust me.
Awesome. Awesome.
Well, hey, before we get to tying this thing up, there's just a couple things that generally always come up on a show like this, and you've got people that ask the question, when is too much, whether it's cellular trail cameras, Ozonics, any of that stuff. I'm just curious to find out, Buddy, how much do you guys get those kind of objections?
You know, not a lot. I mean, obviously, there's some people who they have their own set of personal beliefs and principles, and I respect that, you know. But for the most of us, we don't have the time or the opportunity, and by that I mean the land or a situation where we have the luxury of being that principled, so to speak. And again, I think it's a personal choice. So I don't get a lot of that. What I get a lot of times is just what we talked about earlier, just the absolute skepticism of an invisible molecule that's dumping into a downwind airstream, and it is working its magic at a molecular level where neither you or I can actually see it, except in the behavior of the animals downwind, right? That there is a tangible result, and that's how deer act when they can't smell you. And so for people, until they have that unit with them in the field and experience behavior from their animals that they wouldn't see otherwise, that aha moment is secondary, and it comes down to, at that point, scope of influence. So when there are certain people who trust Jason, there's certain people who trust Todd, there's certain people who trust me, and when I say, oh, this thing works, then they'll take the chance on it. And so don't get a whole lot of the, you know, when is too much, but I do get a lot of the, you know, the skepticism that Todd's alluded to, and that he had, that anybody in their right mind, you know, years ago would have, because of the simple act of being I don't want to be too brutal, Hilbert, being burned by certain products that simply didn't work.
I can justify it for you, Jason, very quickly, the same question. The way I justify it is, hunting is how I take care of my family and how I pay the bills and put food on the table. I want every friggin' advantage I can, because I'm still filming and trying to kill bucks nobody else can kill around my neighborhood. And I need every advantage I can, period. Just the filming aspect alone, I usually have to kill the bucks I kill twice. Just because usually filming ends up blowing it in some way, shape, or form. So I'll take every advantage I can get. Ozonics gives me an edge. There's no doubt about it. And, you know, there's a big reason why in the last few years, every scent elimination company is trying to get in the ozone game, and it's because it frickin' works. Period.
Yep. Well said.
Yeah, I guess they wouldn't be doing it if they wouldn't be trying to copy you if it didn't work. Let's put it that way.
That's exactly right.
Todd, do you have anything else that you want to talk about?
No, I just we appreciate the support. Everything goes unsaid now anymore with these guys, because they know we bleed Ozonics, and you know, I've sat in the trenches for many years with a lot of people giving me crap, thinking that I was promoting a gimmick. And I'm going to give one more shameless plug, but Tree Thrasher is kind of the same thing. It's just different. Until you experience it, you'll just have to kind of consider the source and know that if I'm going to do anything in the field, I'm going to do it to make my chances go up and not down, period. And I think if you know anything about White Knuckle and us, we don't promote gimmick products. We promote the best and things that give us an advantage in the field. Sometimes they're pricey, but that's just us. That's how we roll. And I think our footage and our, the animals we put on the ground each year, they speak for themselves. And that's how we prefer to do it. We'd rather show through our experiences and then give shameless plugs throughout all of our productions and all that. So for me to be promoting Ozonics, trust me, there is no way I would ever be promoting any product that didn't purely work, because my goal is to help guys kill the bucks of their dreams, not make money, because obviously we're all still working 10 jobs, right?
Well, that's a fact. And you know, to piggyback on that, here's something that I typically tell people is that, again, an invisible molecule that you can't see work when it's doing its thing. And this is a small industry, the hunting world, the hunting community, right? the people out there that love to chase whitetail. It's truly a small world. If it didn't work, right, we wouldn't be in business after 11 years. It's just that simple, right? No. That simple. And you said, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, and you'd be shocked how many professionals that I know personally who are promoting certain brands and having Ozonic above their head during their hunts. Yeah. And that's just business. You know, I don't do it full time. So it is what it is. I mean, people have different confidence in certain products or whatever. That's fine. I'm not going to, call anybody out, but I will just say this much, like, dude, like, buddy, you've heard and seen it all.
No, you're very accurate with that, and you're right, and it goes back to what you just said. The fact of the matter is that it gives them an edge, and because they make a living doing it, it gets them into certain places on certain animals, which does what? It gets them a kill for footage, or it gets them out of the field back to their family quicker than instead of it taking 2 weeks to get on the animal, maybe it takes 2 days or 6 days. And so they're smart enough to utilize every tool to increase their odds of success, just like you said earlier.
Exactly. And that's, again, I guess it speaks to what I was thinking, and that's that, you have to take things into context. Context is meaning, right? And when these people are doing this for a living, whoever it may be, it really doesn't matter. If you're a mechanic and you're fixing a car, and there's a better tool, you're going to buy a better tool. And so I guess the point is, it's context. Take it into context. If someone's making a living from it, people get really, hot under their skin about stuff like this. And I think it at times you just got to slow down and understand that for some people it's a business, and for the rest of us, it's a passion. And for the three of us, it's a passion and it's a business. It's part-time both, I want to say this much too, Jason. I'm friends with a bunch of old school big buck killing maniacs. Dan Infel, Brad Cooner, some of these guys who they're minimalists. They don't want to use Ozonics. They don't use any sentiment. That's their thing. And dude, I respect them for it. I know Buddy and the whole crew at Ozonics, it's the same way. It's not, dude, trust me, they're not in it because they got into it because they wanted to make millions of dollars. This was an idea that they realized, like, oh my gosh, this changes hunters' lives. And it also saves human beings in another area, but we probably can't talk about that stuff. But the cool part about Ozonics is it works. That's why we promote them. And I'll be honest, like, whether you're into it or not, if you're not, hey, dude, go get it. Some guys like to use recurves, and I look at that and I'm like, holy moly, the Indians would definitely use a compound bow. But, but it is what it is. Everybody likes something different.
I'm in that camp too. That's awesome.
You just mentioned a few names there, and we're gonna air. This show will air, I think, a week or two after our next White Knuckle web show, and our White Knuckle web show coming up is gonna basically showcase a summer's worth of podcast episodes where I was able to get all of these public hunting guys that strictly hunt public hunting grounds and get them together, and one of the Facebook questions we had was about Ozonics, and Buddy, you'll have to watch it. I'll leave it up to you to listen to what one of those professionals, I would consider him a professional. I think he's an absolute respectable guy, and what he says about Ozonics is nothing short of respectable, I think.
Dude, trust me, these guys, if they were even sitting at our round table, they respect what we've been doing for, like, we haven't gotten through this business for, I think, going on 12 years now because we were trying to do anything less than, respectable, period. Like, dude, we've worked hard for our position, and I'm not afraid to stay it either, because we've turned down a lot of offers over the years for products product promotion and sponsorship because we just didn't believe in them. And specifically, I'm just anal about product. I mean, I designed the darn stuff for a living. So,
oh my God, Buddy, you have no idea what he's like. To
yeah,
deal
I
with.
mean, if there's a bungee cord I use, it's because it's a specific length and it's got the certain number of knots for the perfect tension to be able to put my pole saws on my freaking four-wheeler. I mean,
hold on, stop the show. Listen, Buddy, I started to wind up the freaking rope around his pole saw, around a pruner. I wound up a rope around a pruner, and he's like, "Can you just stop?" And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, just give me the pruner." And I give him the pruner. He's like, don't. I've got a system. I've got a system, and it's got to go like this, and it's got to go. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Oh my god!
But it freaking works for me, man.
It does. It's crazy.
Hey, trust me, I shaved at least 38 seconds off of your freaking wrapping.
Well, there you go.
And
so
and he probably counted it. He's not making 38 up. That was observed.
Right.
Yeah. That's kind of what I do for a living, and my wife definitely does not enjoy it a lot of the times.
Oh my goodness. I didn't mind it at all. I found it quite interesting. And just to go back to your stand setups, Todd, if you would just for a second humor me and we were setting up my stand in that kill plot, and you were talking about, giving up that 1/3 basically, where the deer are going to come across the creek there. And you were talking about hunting it on a northeast wind, and I think his exact words were, "That's where you rely on Ozonics because that's going to take care of that problem."
Absolutely, because I know just from last year, I watched a deer come out on that peninsula for the same reason. It's literally nothing more than a grassy. It's not open. It's kind of a thick grassy point, but it's not the closest point from point A to point B, where you would think they'd go right along this perfect timberline. The reason they go down to get a drink and they swing out on the most farthest downwind point they could possibly get without being in the water. And sure enough, that's where they were. And that's right where your wind blows on the northeast, but that's the best wind for that. And we have it on video from last year. I have a small buck, came in and he smelled the ozone. I have it all on video, but this stuff all gets edited because he's not a big deer. But smelled it, came right past the tree at 5 yards. I think we ended up using part of the footage of him crossing the creek. But, that's the hard part about self-filming in some of the sets I'm in. I just can't capture this stuff on video, but I beat deer every day, 90% of the time with Ozonics, and that's the frickin' truth. Every day. I have to.
Well, it's the only reason why we would carry gear like that. If it doesn't add to and in an exponential way, a lot of it, right? That's why we select the stuff. If it was just 1 = 1 = 2, we would sometimes make the choice not to add that to the effort. But when 1 + 1 = 8 or 9, or like you said, 90% of the time, then it's well worth the effort.
No, this isn't bogus numbers. Like I'm kind of statistically minded, and like that's how I look at it. It's just it ups your odds, and I'll be the first one to say it. I probably, maybe 50 hunts a year. I have 50 days of hunting a year, so maybe 100 hunts a year. I'll get snorted at probably 2 or 3 times, and it's usually when the wind dies down really, really weird, or it's swirling where just some human scent, and you don't know if it's ground scent because, dude, trust me, by the time I get into most of these stands, the ways I take in, I am wringing wet with sweat. So there's residual ground scent that you just, you can't do anything. Instead of lying about it, I just will say, literally, I've reduced the number of times I get snorted at to 2 or 3 times a year, where by comparison, I was probably getting snorted at 50% of the time, like no joke. And guys would say, well, you're hunting the wrong spots. Well, I'm hunting big bucks. Those are always the wrong spots. That's it. That's the truth. I used to get snorted all the time. Ask Kyle, and Kyle would be like the first person who's like the most like non-hunting, like super nice Christian boy, and he'll tell it like it is. I think anybody who knows us knows we definitely believe in Ozonics, and if you're not into it, that's cool. If you're looking for scent elimination that works, you can do whatever you want to your clothes, man, but without that machine running above your head, you might as well just douse yourself in gasoline, and that's my personal opinion.
Well, we don't recommend that, but
all right. Don't try that at home, folks.
But that's what we smell like to a whitetail. Like, you got to realize that's how powerful their noses are.
That's exactly right. Yeah, they don't. That's why they respond the way they do. It is instant. It is instant rejection when they get a good snort of you, right, of your odor.
Right.
Yeah, we all know what that looks like and sounds like. So anyway, thank you so very, very much for coming on our show, buddy. We've meant to have you on for such a long time, and between all of our busy schedules, it just takes forever, it seems like. But you're one of the guys that really helped us get our Ozonics partnership, so I thank you from the bottom of my heart. And just from, Craig Enervold said it best one time. He said, I'm not trying to sell you anything. Just from one whitetail hunter to another, you've got to try it, because it truly makes a difference. And whether you're for or against it, whatever, if you want to see more deer get snorted at less, there's not another product on the market that does more than Ozonics does. And if they didn't, you wouldn't hear us talking about it.
Well, the feeling's mutual. As far as WKP, you guys have, again, I don't think the word evangelist is too strong. Your passion for the product has been awesome. And again, Jason, getting to know you over the last couple of years has been a blast. I appreciate everything you guys do, and look forward to seeing the animals hit the ground this year.
Yeah, it's gonna be a ton of fun, and I just want to say I've got nothing but respect for you guys and what you do, and certainly I've had the most correspondence with you, buddy, and you guys have a passion. I've been in the sales game a long, long time, and you get to recognize people and how genuine they really are really quick. And hanging around you, and now that I've gotten to hang around Scott a little bit, you guys just have a passion for what you're doing. And I think anytime that your passion is genuine, your product is likely a good product, because you're that passionate about it, and you're going to be successful. And I think you guys are proving that time and time again. So I've appreciated, like I said, your passion, not just your passion for Ozonics, but just your passion for business and doing the right thing, even when nobody's looking.
Well, I appreciate that, Jason. And we try. Again, it's been a long journey, and it's not been an easy journey, but it's again, the opportunity to do what we love and to share that with other people and help them be successful makes it worth it.
Well, there you have it. Our interview with Mr. Buddy Piland from Ozonics. We've had a great relationship with Ozonics for a long time, and it's a great relationship because they've got a great product, and they've also got great people. So it's always a pleasure to talk with them and talk about Ozonics, and then talk about a little hunting as well. So let's get on to the business for the week. If no one has listened to any of the podcasts before, you probably should know that Ozonics is factory shipped direct. And what that means is they're able to offer discounts that they haven't been able to offer in the past when they were using a manufacturer's distribution system like most typical business models do. What this allows you to do is take advantage of the discounts they've allowed us to give you, and that is in the form of our WKP Run and Gun Bundle. To find out what that bundle's all about, go to www.ozonicsHunting.com/WKP, and you'll find the WKP Run and Gun Bundle. Thanks to Ozonics again for sponsoring our show. We couldn't do it without you, and thanks to all the listeners. We couldn't do it without you. I haven't asked in a while, but I need to ask again for some reviews on either iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever it is you get your content from. please go to one of those websites. If you can give us 5 stars or 10 stars or 100 stars or whatever the stars are, that would be great. Let us know how we're doing and what kind of shows you'd like to hear in the future. We've got some cool stuff coming up here in the fall. It's going to be action-packed. As I record this, I probably had one of the more exciting nights on stand last night where I got to encounter the buck I call the fourth quarter. So watch for that story to develop here over the course of the year. With that, I'll end the show for today. Chase it out.